afternoon. Oh, that was so underwhelming. We are fresh out of lunch, so we have to wake up and get a little more hype. So let's try that again. Good afternoon, ladies.
Good afternoon.
And gents. Yes, welcome to Growing in the Gap, leveraging a gap analysis protocol to mobilize your career aspirations. I'm excited to engage in this reflective session with you guys this afternoon. So even though we just had an introduction, just a few fun facts about me. I'm from New Orleans, Louisiana. Home is where the heart is. I currently live in Houston, Texas, and I've served in multiple roles in education, supporting school leaders, supporting district leaders, and now supporting senior leaders on a national level. When I am not working and studying, I love to travel. This is a picture of me in Dubai, where it's beautiful in the sand, and I'm just like, take me back now. Alrighty, so enough about me. It's time for us to just share a little bit about yourselves. So we are going to stand up and get moving. So we are going to stand up, and when the music plays, you're going to walk around, and you keep walking until the music stops, and you pair up with the person that's closest to you. And we're gonna share out with our paired person about these three things. Introduce yourself, your name, in the city and state that you reside in, or that you're from, if it's different, from Lafayette, Louisiana. Also, like your profession, or if you're in school, share about that, your role or what you're majoring in. And then, in the spirit of International Women's Month, share about a shero that impacted your life or your journey. Got it? So we're gonna stand up. And we are going to start moving. Yeah, music stops. I'm trying to stop it. Okay, there you go. No, I'm listening. I'm learning. I'm hearing.
Oh, what's perfect? Susan. I'm sorry. No, Susan. That's her.
I'm just here to listen and learn about you guys. How y'all enjoying this? Good. And you guys are students at UL?
I think I'm
Oh, okay. What are you majoring in? You're in education? Community science, you're in a good place. UL is going to change to what education? Okay. I can see. Good. How is education? Welcome. Welcome. Nice meeting you. So who's your sheroes? Your mom. Yes. So we're just sharing out a little bit about ourselves, our profession, and any shero that has impacted you. You can share with me. I'll turn my mic off.
Me and my sisters. We all have, yes, middle school.
righty. So we're gonna head back to our spots. We're gonna start moving back to our spots. Thank you, partner, for sharing. Okay, so thank you guys for sharing. And it's going to be that type of session. It is after lunch, so we're going to be moving, reflecting, and talking and sharing. So, yes. Yes, work off the food, the calories, and bring it up the brain, right? Okay, so for this session, our objectives are we are going to do a lot of guided activities and reflection, thinking about our career aspirations. We are going to assess our current state of where we are now in our career or our educational journey, right? But then also think about, like, where do we want to go? And then the plan is for you to walk away with a plan, with some concrete action steps in order to start making those strides to get to your aspirations. For this session, you will need handouts. There are some hard copies that are on your seats. As well, if you are a digital person, this is an editable digital version that you can scan. You guys, just a second to scan if you want to, and you can have it for later to type in and save as well. Alrighty, so let's hop in. I want you guys to meet Tammy. Hi, Tammy. Tammy is a 5-year learning and professional development specialist. And she enjoys providing learning and professional development opportunities for her colleagues within her organization. And she enjoys working along her colleagues as well. However, she begins to notice that around year 5, a lot of those people that she started with, they started to matriculate. They started to transition into leadership roles. They started to get promotions in and outside of the company. But for somehow, Tammy felt stuck. She felt stuck in those same meetings, doing the same old work, and not really advancing and moving forward like she felt she should in her colleagues. So just like Tammy, the Journal of Career and Development, it tells us that 50% of people who experience career stagnation, they do not have a professional learning and development plan. So although Tammy and the people that's in the study, they may have the skill set and the experience to do that next level job or that role and to meet their aspiration. It's having a short and defined plan that will help them focus in getting there. So no matter how much experience you have, it is imperative that there's a plan, an action plan in place. So we already discussed that 50% of the professionals that experience career stagnation, about 50% of them do not have that formal plan. Also, professionals that set goals are 42% more likely to achieve those career goals. And then professionals that engage in career mapping, they're 30% greater to be able to handle career transitions. Think about that. Think about what's going on. Think about layoffs, the land of layoffs that's happening, right? But having a plan, it will help you be more confident in any transitions that may come. Yes?
So should your map be like a willing to change kind of map based on what's going on in life, in the world, things like that?
Yes.
Like don't hold it as gospel.
It should be fluid, right? A living, working, breathing document, right? Because of course, like your skill set is gonna change. However, the credentials for your profession may change. At one point, you only needed a undergrad degree, right? But now it's a bachelor's, and now it's becoming more prevalent to have a doctorate's degree. So yes, that plan should be very fluid. Yes, as things change. Your entrance may change because some people also, like myself, experience burnout. So I thought, and my mom would tell you, I thought I wanted to be a kindergarten teacher for the rest of my life, sit in rocking chairs and read big books. And she was like, go back and get your master's. And year 8, I didn't want to do it anymore. I gained a new love for leading organizational-wide and school-wide strategies. So yes, it should be fluid. Your plan will be fluid because you're going to grow. Great question. Now let's look at this through the lens of women in leadership. So in 2023, it was found that 29% of the senior positions that were held by women. So that's almost 30. So that means 70% of senior positions in our country are seated and held and occupied by men. That's a big gender discrepancy. And in that, only 8.2% of those women roles were in CEOs. And then when we think about the manager's position, 60% of managers' positions and 74% of managers' positions are occupied by men. That leaves us girlies at 40%, less than half. And then when we think about board seats, it made me just wonder about women of color and just going a little deeper. And when we think about board seats being filled by women of color or black women, only 5.3% are being occupied. This is imperative that we want to increase these numbers because we know the greatness that we bring to our fields and our professions, right? And it's imperative that we increase these numbers. However, it's that intentional planning that will help us increase these numbers and matriculate into leadership. Research also tells us that using the approach of strategic planning, when we think about our career and our growth and development, it brings clarity and focus. Strategic planning, it helps us set clear goals and identify those steps that we need to achieve those goals. Also, research tells us that strategic planning around our career aspirations, it also helps us identify the skills and the experiences that are needed to acquire to reach our career aspirations and goals. By intentionally focused on building these competencies, we can accelerate our professional development and position ourselves for new opportunities. So I want us to just read this quote, and let's think about what about this quote is sitting with us in regards to our career aspirations and planning. You don't rise to the level of your goals, but you fall to the level of your systems. Think about that when you think about career planning. And as you think, I want you to just grab a shoulder partner or the person in front of you, behind you, and just share what is it that's sitting with you? What's resonating with you about this quote? Let's take about 45 seconds to share. We're going to be sharing all day, guys. That's resonating. I mean, you think about like mental, having like a nap. All righty. So anyone wants to kind of just share out anything great or resounding that either you or your partner shared about or discussed? Systems and support, yes. It's very important. Yes, you are limited by your systems. If you don't have systems, then how are you going to reach the goal? The goal is just a dream. Thank you. Anyone else? Yes.
I was thinking of your system as like a fail-safe, like what steps have you taken so you don't fall very far? Because you can have the highest goal, but until you put every step forward to get there, you don't want to be able to fall far.
Yes, and just having steps, right, is really good. And then also in the back, my friend, she shared that having a support system is also good. So like even the systems, but then she thought about a support system, which makes me think about like networking, right? And mentorships and all the things to support of your network to help you achieve those goals as well. Thank you. Alrighty, so in the work that I do, I partner with a lot of senior leaders and district leaders to really implement their strategic plan, priorities of their strategic plan and initiatives. And a lot of times I like to use the tool or the structure, the strategic plan and structure of a gap analysis. And so the key component of a gap analysis is that we're not just gonna hop right in and say, okay, we have this goal and let's go ahead and do the thing that we wanna do, right? But we're gonna think about our analyzing like our current state, where we currently are against this goal. So the gap analysis, it starts with your analyzing your current state, and then the next step after you get a clear idea of where your strengths are in your current state, then you envision your aspirations. Where do you want to go? What does that look like and sound like? And then we analyze that gap and identify what are the gaps, the missing pieces, the barriers, the risk. We analyze that, and then we begin to action plan, put it into action. So we're going to use this same framework today as we think about our own career aspirations. So I'm going to warn you today, it's going to take a lot of deep reflection. You're going to be reflecting on your current state and writing that out. In today's sessions, we're also going to be reflecting and writing and envisioning where we want to go next, as well as we're going to create an action plan, because the goal is for us to walk away with concrete actions. All right, so let's think about Tammy. Now, we identified Tammy already. We know how she's feeling, right? She's feeling like she's left behind. She's stuck in the same place, and she did not matriculate like her peers. So then Tammy, she wised up. She got a mentor. She went to her boss and said, hey, this is how I'm feeling, and this is what I want to do. I want to move into leadership. I aspire. But before her boss said, go and apply, she took her through the gap analysis process. She took her through the first 3 steps of reflecting on her skills, envisioning her aspiration state, and identifying those gaps. So first, Tammy's mentor, they had a strategic planning process, and they talked about Tammy's core strengths. Where does her strength lie? Where is she winning? What it is that she does well in her work, and what sets her apart from other colleagues or potential candidates that she will be competing against when she go for these leadership roles. In step 1, the self-assess stage, she also talked about where are your wins, where your achievements, what are your most proud moments. And what this reflective process is doing, it's taking an asset-based approach, but it's also putting Tammy in a reflective state to where now when she goes to interview, she can speak freely about those things. As well as when she plans and look for her next role, she can do a role or aspire to achieve a role or get a role that is aligned to where her strengths lie. So now, I want us to just take 5 minutes and turn to handout 1. And we're going to start reflecting around these questions. Yes? Question, yes.
One of my first thoughts, I'm very inquisitive.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if that comes to a strength or weakness, but sometimes I'm pretty sure I know the answer to that.
Yes. No, this is good, right? Okay, so core strengths, she's inquisitive. That core strength could be that she's an analytical thinker. Anybody else? We can coach you through it. So let's take about 5 minutes just to think through these. Alrighty, and before we move on, I want us to celebrate and share our strengths. Sometimes it's hard to think about, like, what am I good at? But I want us to also share. So let's take about 40 seconds just to turn and talk with our neighbors and just share what some things that you identified as your core strengths or your skills and knowledge and experience that sets you apart. Okay, here we are. Alrighty, so when we think about Tammy, let's go back to Tammy. So Tammy shared and she reflected on her strengths and she knew what she did well in her last 5 years. But then now she's thinking about her future. She knows that she wants to do leadership, right? But this is where she got really clear on leading in what, right? What does success look like for her in 1 to 3 years? In the aspiration state, Tammy did some deep reflection to define what personal fulfillment means. Kind of like, what's her why? Like, why does she aspire to do this work, and why does she aspire to do the work at that level, at a leadership level? And then also, this is also a state that you could, this step is where you could start researching and looking at the field to see what leadership roles are available or out there aligned to your skill set. In the aspirational state, also identify those specific positions and then the impact you really want to work. Doing this and reflecting on this level, it's more than I want to lead. It's more than I want a promotion. It's more than I want more money. This is more getting very clear about what is it that I aspire to do and the impact I aspire to make, and then why. Just imagine if you reflect on this level and you can articulate that in an interview, how that would stand out. It would help you stand out. So let's take another 3 minutes to utilize handout 2 to really think through these things about our aspirational achievements. Alrighty, so now that we know our strengths and where we currently are, as well as where we aspire to go, there may be some gaps. So I want us to start thinking through the gaps and how will we bridge those gaps. So first, I like to, before we start going with the gaps and really chipping away at the bridge, right, think through what strengths are already in place that's aligned to your aspirational state. What are those skills that you already exist that aligns to where you're trying to go? What qualifications do you have? If that next job requires you to have a bachelor's degree and you already do, that's a bridge. That's already there, or part of the bridge. Also, a part of building the bridge and bridging the gap in the gap analysis process, I'd like us to think about those gaps, but in buckets, not just loosely, because you can get overwhelmed when you read a job description and it's like, okay, I don't check this box or this box or this bullet, right? But think about it in buckets. The 5 buckets that I like to focus on when bridging the gap between our current state and our aspirational state is thinking about the education and certifications. Does my next job or my next career aspiration require me to get another degree or just an add-on certification? Or even a certification outside of my field? I know for me, I aspire to get a project management certification because I do lead a lot of complex projects. So that's a gap for me. Also, the next bullet is leadership and management skills. That could look like soft skills, also those technical skills, right? Communication. Do I need to increase my executive presence? Do I need to learn how to clearly articulate my thoughts? What are those management skills? Do I need organizational and management skills? What about people management skills? Could that perhaps be a gap that we need to close? Thinking about those technical skills As well as we talked a lot earlier, we reflected on networking. That's another bucket in professional relationships. Thinking about where I want to go. Do I really have a lot of other senior leaders in my network? If not, do I need to start reaching out to them via LinkedIn or maybe going to lunch just to start picking their brains and also just to build those relationships so I can get wind of the current things that's happening at that next level. And then my personal brand, and this is a gap for me. Do I need to start showcasing the great work that I'm already doing? Am I posting on LinkedIn? Do I need to update my resume and socialize it a little more? Maybe I need to have a live lunch talk just to start showcasing my greatness in the work that I'm doing. So when we're bridging the gaps and we're completing the third step in the gap analysis process, I want us to think through these buckets, but for time's sake, I want you to pick 1 or 2 buckets. And on handout 3, let's take about 3 minutes just to think through that and identify those gaps. All righty. Now remember, our ultimate goal is for us to leave with an action plan. However, for time's sake, we're just going to think through our next highest leverage strategy and our next steps that we're going to commit to. Think about, for the gap, if you put that in one of the gaps to bridge that gap, I may need to go to grad school, then a next high leverage action may be research graduate programs, right? Or the requirements. And then that timeline, maybe if I'm really serious, I need it done by Easter or the summer, right? And then my next step is actually to start reaching out to do it, right? So just think about that, your priority, based upon what you reflected on in the gap, bridging the gap, step 3. And I want you to think about what is your next highest, that high leverage strategy that you're going to do, and that next step that's aligned to that. And what I want you to do is I want you to share it with your shoulder partner, and then before we leave, I just want to hear. So let's take maybe a few seconds just to share. Alrighty, anybody wants to share what they're committing to as their next step? Yes.
My next step is trying to get into law school.
Ooh, congratulations already. Good. She's already thinking she's getting into law school. Yes, thank you. Congratulations. Anyone else? I love that aspiration. Alrighty, so you have the templates, you have the process and the protocol. Remember we talked about, someone asked, is this a concrete thing? This is a fluid document. So keep it as you grow, as you develop, and to bring it into your own growth and development process. And I just want to tell you guys, thank you so much just for your time. Here's my information, my email, and LinkedIn. And feel free to reach out to me if you have any other questions. Y'all have a great afternoon, and thank you for reflecting.